In a game full of servers, there is one game that seems to repeat itself throughout every single server. But one. And that game is Skywars. Now, I've slandered Hive minigames a lot over pretty much my entire YouTube. But there is one thing they did like no other server did, and that is their version of Skywars. Now, Hive did its Skywars like no other. Every server had its sort of same preset of its version of Skywars. But Hive, they did it different. Starting off with Lucky Ores. Now, Hive Skywars is different to every other Skywars, as mentioned in the intro. As you can see, if you don't play Hive, you'll realise the Skywars is far different to any other Skywars you probably have ever seen before. Now, this became so successful with the Hive, like really successful, but it was a big risk considering it was something that has never been seen before, at least to my knowledge, on any other server. But it performed so well and is, in my opinion, probably the best form of Skywars that I've ever played, at least. Hive did a really good job of executing the way Hive Skywars works and the way it performs. For example, the border barrier thingy, you know, the start. Usually Skywars is about rushing to mid as soon as possible and getting the best loot so you could take on all the other islands. Although Hive Skywars is pretty similar to that, it does have its differences. For example, at the start of the game there is a border. You cannot pass that border after around 20 seconds before the game starts. Then PvP is enabled and you can pass the border. Now, this is used to make sure you have time to prepare for the game ahead. Now, thing being, no other Skywars that I know of, once again that I know of at least, has this sort of freedom border at the start of their game. Which is one way Hive makes their Skywars completely different to everybody else's. And there's one reason why I actually prefer it over any other Skywars. You may be thinking, how do players not loot up too quick to the point where they're just waiting 10-15 seconds to the border? Now, this is where the play of Lucky Ores comes in. Lucky Ores, although sometimes unbalanced, usually Lucky Ores, although sometimes unbalanced, can usually balance the game out to a level playing field if you don't get good things from a chest. For example, you could get bad things from a chest, but you could mine a few diamond ores and you could get some better loot. Now, this is what makes it so the chests aren't overpowered, because if you've ever looted a chest in the Hive, then you'll realise that you don't get that good loot with it to start off. That's because of the Lucky Ores. Now, this allows it to have a much more sort of balanced playing style. For example, most people or sweats will rush mid so they can gain an advantage with better loot. Now, for the noobs who can't bridge, which they gotta be very newbie, get a sort of a equal playing field, as they can mine diamond ore to be able to get diamond armor for them. And I think it just makes it that little bit fairer for the players who aren't that experienced at the game versus the players who are very much experienced at the game. This allows new players to have a sort of better experience rather than having to face sort of someone with a million times better loot with them against each other. Now, I haven't played much of other Skywars, so I could be wrong, but are other Skywars unbalanced for noobs? I don't know. I've not done too much research on other Skywars, but to my knowledge, it is. However, there is some negatives to Lucky Ore. For example, the very biased RNG that comes between them. Now, what I mean by biased is that some people will get full diamond armor on the first try of lucky ores, and some people will get completely repetitive loot out of all of their lucky ores, which makes it unfair for the other player, despite mining the same thing and putting the same effort into the game. But what do you expect? Not everything's going to be perfect. But I think just the way Hive executed lucky ores was just insane. It was unlike any other Skywars seen before, and it was a big risk factor to such a big server that had shut down on Java ever so soon. The reason why it was a big risk factor is because, well, did they have it in Hive Java? Oh god. The reason why it was a big risk factor in the first place anyway was because, well, it was unique. The Hive didn't know if players were gonna like lucky ores or if they were gonna dislike it compared to the normal Skywars. But Hive managed to outperform most servers, pretty much every server if you're counting Bedrock, with their version of Hive Lucky Ores Skywars, and that allowed them to become a unique server and have a unique Skywars. Now I know the vid is short, but I am going to put effort into editing this, as I want to start making my vids high quality more. So, put it in the comments, number one, what do you think about Hive Skywars? Do you think it's a better Skywars compared to the classic ones? Or do you think it's a worse Skywars and would rather play it on other servers, such as Hypixel if you're on Java, or CubeCraft if you're on Bedrock? Now I am on a road to 1k, so if you could just, you know, drop a little sub, that'd be greatly appreciated. Obviously you don't have to, but I'm gonna try and make more videos high quality like this in the future. But for now, bye bye. Oh, the inventory ruined it.